today for the second of our spring League of Women Voters Speaker Series events. My name is Dulcie, and I'm very happy to have Henry Ann Westberg with us today, our Henry Ann Auditor, Clerk, Recorder. Thank you. It's a lot of job that you do. So Henry Ann arrived on the Palouse from Georgia in 1976 to attend the University of Idaho and graduated in 1980 with a degree in wildlife habitat. In 1981, she married Wayne Westberg, and together they farm and ranch on Lenville Road, southeast of Moscow. They have 3 children: Emily, who's married to Walker Berg and teaches kindergarten in Vancouver; Amy, who works in social service at Ulster County, New York; and John, who is involved in the family farm operation. While a student at the university, Henry Ann worked part-time for about 1.5 years in the assessor's office, and in 1985 she was hired by the auditor to work in accounts payable and payroll before transferring to district court office in 1990 and working there until 1998. She then spent 16 years in the finance department at City of Moscow before becoming Latah County elected clerk in 2014. Henry Ann began working elections in 1985 and has worked on numerous elections since the days of the punch cards, most often in the tabulation area or examination table. She has a long history of commitment to the electoral process and appreciates the work and mission of League of Women Voters. And also, she appreciates the scores of poll workers who attend training and spend long days assisting voters as they cast their ballots. Certainly, as we are in an era of worrying about the legality and the security of our elections, I think we're very, very fortunate to have someone like Henry Ann in charge of our elections here in Latah County. So welcome, Henry Ann.
Thank you. It's wonderful to be here today to talk about polling place development. I'd like to introduce my elections director, Jennifer Hendricks. She takes care of our Facebook page, our ballot. She is my go-to person. Besides Jennifer, who is full-time elections, we have 2 other employees in the office that help with elections. You might know Melody, who does absentee voting for us, and with all of the early voting that we have, she's extremely busy during elections. She also has other duties. She's my auditor's assistant, so we really only have 1 dedicated elections person. The other person we have helps put the supply books together and call the poll workers. So 2 people that work a little part-time in elections, 1 full-time, and myself, just to kind of give you an overview of staffing in our office. I thought I would take a minute to explain the role of the clerk in the county. Dulcie alluded to the fact that we have many jobs. Then I'll go over some of my past experience that Dulcie touched on. And I think I'll try to help review some of the various kinds of elections that we have. I will, of course, be bringing you up to date on where we are with new polling places on campus. But I need to start by putting together some building blocks, because we can't really actually talk about a polling place until we have understood a few of the nuances of election. Let's put it that way. But first of all, I want to thank the League of Women Voters for their various programs. They do a mock election that is time-consuming and helpful to young high school students that are just starting to vote. They always advocate for fair elections. They help me at the fair when we're there during, we'll be there this summer, registering voters, and they always help me staff the voter registration table. So I'm very grateful for all that we do. In fact, I feel like the League goes a long way in building the community that we are of Moscow. They bring in wonderful programs. They're always on task. So thank you to the League. I love my League. And most county clerks don't have this active of League of Voters. So I'm very fortunate. So as many of you know, the elected clerk is also the auditor and the recorder in the county, and by statute has many and various tasks and duties. You read through the Idaho Code, it says the clerk shall. It doesn't say will, the clerk shall. So one of the bigger jobs that I have, elections is huge, but I'm also the clerk of the district court. So it's up to me to operate and maintain the people's court, which is the magistrate court, the district court, where we hear felony cases, the juvenile court, that stays continuously busy. And so we have about 9 employees down there, plus we also operate a specialty court. It's for people that are dealing with behavioral health issues, drugs, mental health. We're helping them through the justice system get through that. We also have a court assistance person that comes under my purview, and they help people who are pro se that don't have an attorney, can't afford an attorney, to file their documents properly so when the judge gets the file, it's ready to go. So that's one hat that I wear. The second duty that the clerk has is that we're the clerk of the commissioners. So we have 3 commissioners. They meet on Mondays and Wednesdays. They're always have motions, papers to file, things to approve. And so we clerk those and make sure that everything that they've decided actually gets done. Also, you might see in the paper the commissioner proceedings. Those are put together by us. And you can keep up with the commissioners by reading the commissioner proceedings. A third title was recorder. And when property changes hands, people file a deed of trust. That kickstarts us into changing the name on that property in the assessor's office, which in turn moves on to the treasurer's office so that the property tax bill can go out to the correct person. So we are the keeper of all of the records clear back to 1988. And even before that, when we were a territory, we have some really old records in those great, wonderful, leather-bound books with calligraphy writing and lots of old, beautiful books. And as the auditor, we are the bookkeepers for the county, developing all the financials. We develop the annual budget. We oversee payables and payroll. And in a county the size of Latah County, the clerk almost automatically becomes the risk manager, the human resource officer, and then, believe it or not, ADA coordinator. So yes, we wear many hats. And last but not least, the clerk is the chief election officer of the county. Dulcie talked about my background of 35 years in elections, first starting to work in 1985 with the punch cards, and I actually had to judge whether this Chad was pregnant enough to be counted and pushed through, or that dangling Chad could be just kind of swept aside so we could get these ballots through. And I always have loved elections. I've enjoyed working elections, so even when I worked at the city, I came up and helped Susan in the counting table and was friends with Susan Peterson, who was clerk for 24 years before she decided to retire. I'm one of those strange people, I guess. I was always eager to help with any job that they had. And elections does require a lot of teamwork. It's really all hands to the pump. Everybody in my office needs to know how to answer questions when voters call, look up things in the system, assist someone with early voting. So we all become election workers when it's right before and around the elections. Now, a big change happened in elections in 2011. The legislature passed the election consolidation laws. This handed the responsibility of running all elections over to the county clerks. Before, when I first started, we only ran the county elections. I don't know why they added one more giant job to the clerk, but they did. The goal was to provide better oversight and support of the local taxing districts. Latah has over 40 taxing districts, as well as give voters a designated polling place for every election that would remain the same. Some of you that are older might remember going to the fire station to vote, or the school gymnasium to vote. Election consolidation law brought that all under the clerk's purview. In addition to standardizing the polling places, the law also provided the framework for which elections are conducted. Idaho code designates the election dates as the second Tuesday in March, the third Tuesday in May, the last Tuesday in August, and the Tuesday before the first Monday in November.
Before or after?
Following the first Monday. In May of, I'm going to do the odd and even. In the May of the even years, we hold the county and state primary elections. In November of the even years, we hold the general election for all of those races and the soil conservation district elections. So that's what we have coming up this year in 2020. In May of the odd years that we just finished with, we hold highway district elections, water and sewer district elections, library district elections, and then in November, we do, for the odd years, we hold the city elections, the cemetery districts, fire protection districts, recreation districts, and school district trustee elections. So, on top of that, we can have recalls at any time, or the state might designate that a referendum or initiative needs to be placed on the ballot. So as you can see, while many people focus on just national and county elections, there are many other governing entities out there who make decisions based on their constituents. There's a lot going on every year. Being an informed voter requires fortitude. So that's the big picture. Now let's try to get local. Latah County has 35 precincts, and I did bring a map of Latah County with all of the precincts. We also have a map of the city precincts over here, and those numbers in there are how many registered voters in each of those precincts. Latah County has 23,000 ballpark registered voters. We have 16 rural precincts, 3 of which are mail ballot precincts. That means they're so small that we don't actually put a polling place in their precinct. We mail them a ballot, that's 140 people or under, and they mail it back to us. They're designated with the Secretary of State as mail ballot precincts. The city of Moscow has 18 precincts, with an absentee precinct at my courthouse. I'm possessive. And so we become the polling place for mail ballot precincts and for anyone who wants a ballot mailed out to them that they'll mail back to us, or anyone who wants to come and vote early. We become that polling place for them. Now, I've got a question for you. How many polling places do you think that we currently operate in Latah County on election day? How many guesses? How many polling places are there in Latah County? Margaret's County.
Well, Moscow only has 2, and you're missing 3 now?
Well, the courthouse is a polling place. So there's 15. We need to provide equipment and manpower for 15 polling places. We currently have 3 in Moscow, if you count the courthouse, the Hamilton Indoor Recreation Center, and the fairgrounds. We have 12 polling places operating in the rural districts, each one fully equipped and staffed. Each one is vital to the election process. When we open the University of Idaho campus polling place, we'll then be up to 16 polling places in Latah County. I do want to touch briefly on what it costs to run these elections. As I say, I'm putting some building blocks together so you understand. When the election consolidation law passed, one of the provisions was that there would be funding provided to offset the increased election costs associated with the county conducting all of the elections. Funding to cover the cost of consolidated elections comes from the state of Idaho, and it's based on a formula that takes into account the county's population. My election budget this year is $287,000. Of that, about $108,000 comes from the state of Idaho. The remaining $179,000 is paid by the local taxpayers.